The U.S. threatens costs if the referendum in Crimea goes ahead on Sunday to decide if the region should become part of Russia. According to Washington, such a vote would be illegal. Russia, on the other hand, says, let the people of Crimea decide their future. Crimean officials say Kiev has failed their trust when their elected leader was overthrown through street riots. RT's Polly Boiko reports from London on the latest talks between Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry.
After 6 hours of walking around the gardens of the US ambassador's residence, there have predictably been no major breakthroughs here in London. The US, the UK and Russia do not share a common vision, is what Sergey Lavrov said. John Kerry, it looks like he wasn't budging one bit from the USA's position. He said that sanctions will automatically apply if Russia continues to support the referendum in Crimea, whereas the Russian foreign minister is reiterating that Moscow will respect the will of the Crimean people to determine their future in that referendum on Sunday, and said that Russia has no plans to invade eastern Ukraine.
The Russian Federation does not and cannot have any plans to invade eastern or southern Ukraine. We strongly believe that the rights of Russians, just like the rights of Hungarians or Bulgarians, or of course the rights of Ukrainians, must be ensured and protected.
Well, Sergey Lavrov was asked about other recent referendums that have taken place around the globe, and he said that back in 2008, Kosovo was a special case and Crimea is a very special case. And he said that Crimea to Russia is more important than the Falkland Islands are to the UK. And he spoke about the principle of self-determination.
Our Western partners are claiming that the referendum cannot be allowed, but our view is that people's right to self-determination has never been cancelled. This is one of the main points of the UN Charter, and there are many cases where this right has been exercised.
Well, that idea of self-determination is something that's become pivotal in the run-up to this referendum on Sunday, and it's something that Western governments have in the not-too-distant past been happy to lend their support to.
You don't have to look back far to see how the US and their Western partners have at times encouraged referendums and secessionist splits.
The referendum on self-determination.
Self-determination.
Right to speak their language.
Be recognized by more nations around the world.
Shape their daily lives.
Determine their own future. Must take place.
Like when Kosovo voted to carve itself out of Serbia in 2008.
This is what the birth of a nation looks like.
Thank you, Europe. Thank you, America. Thank you, Great Britain.
In fact, the US backed Kosovo's independence 2 years before the UN judged it was legal, and in doing so set the precedent. Then, after a long and bloody conflict in Sudan, a referendum saw half the country break away in 2011 to create the world's newest country, South Sudan.
The realization of this historic day is a testament to tireless efforts of the people of South Sudan in their search for peace.
The US set up its embassy in the new capital of Juba that very same day. Just last year, off the coast of Argentina, the people of the Falkland Islands voted overwhelmingly to remain British. Here's David Cameron consoling the Argentinian president.
I wanted to raise it specifically with the Argentine president and say it's important that everyone pays attention to this referendum. So I think it was the right thing to do.
Again, in Britain, over 300 years of union could all end this September. Scotland's being allowed to vote on whether to leave the union. The Prime Minister says it's up to Scots to decide their future. Yet for all the talk of self-determination, Crimea's referendum has been denounced as illegal by the G7 group of the world's biggest economies. The US has sent fighter jets close to Russia, deploying them in Poland and Lithuania. It's also preparing sanctions along with the EU. So when it comes to self-determination or territorial integrity, your guess is as good as anybody's in predicting which way international powers will side. The biggest clue is whether it fits their own interests. Polly Boiko, RT, London.